Good morning and welcome to this daily cyber briefing for Friday, the 7th of March. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Kibana has fixed, Elastic has fixed a critical flaw in Kibana, not the other way around. It is a flaw in Kibana's data visualization dashboard for Elasticsearch. It could lead to arbitrary code execution. So the vulnerability is CVE 2025-2012, CVS score of 9.9. So pretty serious if you are using the Elastic stack. And as a lot of us do, it crops up in a lot of security environments. Good tooling, but definitely something to have a look at if you are running Elastic Stack, or if Elastic Stack is the engine behind any of the security stuff that you're doing or anything else that you're doing. Have a look because patches will be required ASAP. So there's an article in Bleeping Computer that highlights something that has been, I think, probably overlooked somewhat around the risks associated with Internet of Things devices. So this particular example shows how a ransomware gang, having gained access to a network and exfiltrated data, so don't worry about how they did that, they then wanted to deploy the ransom encryption software, malware, but found it blocked by endpoint protection. So what they did was look for other devices on the network, devices that were unlikely to be running EDR or endpoint protection of any form, and found amongst fingerprint readers and all sorts of other bits and pieces, found some vulnerable webcams. Having gained root access to the webcams, they could then use the credentials that they'd stolen to access network shares from the camera. Having accessed the network shares from the camera, they were then able to run the encryption software from the camera, which then encrypted network drives. Now, when put like that, it sounds bleeding obvious that that's something that might happen, but I bet you that there are a lot of organizations, a lot of security teams that haven't thought about the possibility of mounting network drives from Internet of Things devices. But if you find a device that's running some form of Linux, unless it's been very well hardened, it'll, just out of the box, it's probably got all sorts of abilities to do stuff at an OS level that you wouldn't necessarily expect that device to be able to do. So, all right, they used cameras this time round, but they could have used your fridge or your kettle or whatever it might be that's been connected to the internet and runs an operating system. So, what can you do about this? Well, the first thing that's struck me with this is that this particular organisation doesn't sound like they're monitoring network traffic. Certainly not east-west network traffic within their organisation. Now, for 25 years I've been doing battle with my own organisations and others around whether having monitoring of network traffic is a nice to have or is a crucial part of your security visibility. And I strongly believe that network visibility is absolutely vital to understanding what's going on. I mean, we talk a lot about the 3 domains of security that you need to have visibility of in order to understand what's actually happening, understand your security posture within your own organisation. Well, um, what's happening on your endpoints, as in sort of process level, intrusion level stuff, what's going on endpoints. And I mean endpoints generically, not just your laptops or whatever, but all the devices that you can get agents on that will look at what processes are running, what connections are being initiated, what's happening on your endpoints. And there are security logs, the sorts of things that are coming out of your cloud or SaaS environments, plus relevant server logs, AD logs if you're in a Windows environment, all that sort of stuff. And then the third domain, and one where we find this domain to be the one that gives us the best initial view of what's going on. It's worrying is network traffic. They're all very good. Network intrusion detection is very good at identifying stuff that you would look at and go, what? I'm sure that's not right. And at its least effective, it will undoubtedly, it always, in fact, in my experience, shows things that are misconfigured around anything other than an absolutely tiny network with a couple of devices on it. Once you get to being anything approaching a reasonable sized network, they're about to be misconfigured things that are talking to things that they shouldn't be, or trying to do things that are failing but nobody's noticed and they just fail in the background. You see all sorts of network misconfigurations, whatever it may be, but you also pick up from that things like your camera's attempting to mount network drives. Why is your camera, why is your webcam trying to mount a network drive? All this sort of stuff is very straightforward to catch by monitoring network traffic, whereas trying to put endpoint protection or host intrusion detection software onto your webcam, it could well be significantly more difficult to do. So what's the takeaway from this? Well, I think the underlying takeaway, the underlying cause of this particular issue is that nobody was monitoring what network traffic was going on, or if they were monitoring it, they weren't looking for the obvious stuff that they should have been looking for on this. Makes for interesting reading. But bear in mind then that good security architecture, as in, why are your network webcams able to see your file shares, your network file shares? And why is there no monitoring at a network level that would have caught the attempts to do things like access these network shares from devices that are not supposed to access network shares? So have a little think about it. Okay, on other matters, there are, and it's again in the same bucket of Internet of Things. Just when you thought it was safe to turn on your streaming TV boxes, yes, thousands, as in tens of thousands, and I think actually probably up to 1 million now, Android TV boxes have been backdoored using Badbox. Badbox 2.0 is out there. We're all kind of aware, I suspect, of the original Badbox, which I think most people thought had gone away. Well, no, there's a new version that's out there. It is targeting Android TV boxes or Android devices, but Android TV boxes tend to come with enough processing power and enough persistence on the network to make them useful as part of a botnet. It's part of what researchers have described as a China-based ecosystem behind the compromised devices that's used for illicit activities. So if you have got Android-based devices on your network, the best thing you can do if you're not in a position to be monitoring for what traffic those things are initiating, definitely keep them patched, keep them up to date. If you can look at what they're connecting to, that would be a good thing. There's tooling out there that can help you to do that sort of stuff. If you're concerned about, say, your home network, we don't plug any particular software in this. In fact, at all as a company, we don't plug anybody's software. We get no kickbacks from anybody over anything. I would personally use Fing to understand what's going on in smaller networks. If you've got a big corporate network, you should be able to do proper network monitoring. Anyway, so keep an eye on that, but make sure that you do, the very least, hop onto your Android devices, be they TVs, mobile devices, whatever they are, and check that they are configured for auto updates, and check that the auto updates have been applied, and occasionally give them a reboot, just in case there's something that requires a reboot in order to enact it. That's probably the best you can do under the circumstances, because unless you are an absolute genius, you're going to struggle. Those average people like me are going to struggle to put host intrusion detection or EDR solutions onto a smart TV running Android. And then finally, from me today, and partly because a lot of company is based in the north of England, and Eliza's based in Yorkshire. Leeds United supporters have suffered from a cyber attack. So if you are a Leeds supporter, and if you have been using Leeds United's merch site, be aware that there have been card details stolen from that site. So if you're a Leeds supporter, commiserations. If you are a Leeds supporter and you've had your card details nicked, further commiserations. Have a look, just have a check if you've used that website. And all I can say to everybody else in the company who's based in Yorkshire is have a cup of tea. So that's enough from me for today. I will speak to you all again on Monday.